Hi, hello, welcome to Satish Manjida. Manjida is the name of my village, a small village amidst the blue hills of Nilgiris. Many would have read, or at least you heard, of a book called as Goat Days. The original title is Adujividam, written by Benyamin. And this book has been translated in many languages, and I've had an opportunity to read it in Tamil. After reading Benyamin's Adujividam in Tamil, the image or the impact what it created was so strong that I didn't wait for other Benjamin's work. In fact, when I've had an opportunity to read other Benjamin's work, I kept procrastinating because the book Adujividam, the characters, the place where it happens, those horrific days of the main character spending in the Middle East, looking after the goats, the hot sun without water, all those things was so strong. I recommended to many. In fact, I gifted the book to many of my students here. And then, other Benjamin's work when it came, I was scared to touch because the image build was so strong. I don't want to disturb that image. Then, how long can you procrastinate? So, I would not say one fine day, rather, I would say it's too late. I put my hand in Benyamin's another novel, Jasmine Days. And Jasmine Days, it has won the JCB prize for translation. And Jasmine Days, when I started, the initial, you have the perception of the previous work. The previous work, what I read was Malayalam to Tamil. I think the translation of Malayalam to Tamil is, I thought the translation from Malayalam to Tamil is so close. So probably that is also the reason for the fear. And then I took this book, Jasmine Days, and it's just the second page. Once I've done with the first two pages, and it just, the flow went so good that I kept it once I've done with this particular book. Oh, a beautiful narrated book. So this Jasmine Days is about a protagonist. The protagonist is Sameera Parvin. Sameera Parvin, she works as an RJ in a FM in the Arab country, in a city. And throughout the novel, I'm searching for the city, which city the story is happening. But then it is just mentioned as the city. There is no name of the city. So in the initial parts of the work, Sameera Parvin, she introduces herself and she tells about her family and she tells about the working atmosphere, the gossiping which is happening there. And in her office there is two radios which operates. One is in where, Orange radios where she works, and there is one more radio, and there is a group of people from Kerala. She called them as Malayali Mafia, and her daily routine and the way how she goes home after work. The cab in which she goes, and the name what she gives to the particular cab. So the foundation, the structure, everything is built in the first few. You know the characters, you know everybody. Though there are many characters, everybody is introduced. You know all who is who in this particular first part. And then later, before we see what happens next, the Sameera Parvin, she is from Pakistan. So she's from Pakistan and she's working in this city in the Arab country. So the story goes smooth and slow. The story goes, and then there is a kind of a revolution happening. The locals, they don't want the king to be in his place, and there is a kind of a revolution happening. So what and all the horrific things Sameera Parvin has to face, has to experience during the riot is what follows. The revolution starts very, very small, and rather it takes a very big shape. And all the people join together in a common place, and there is a lot of protest against the king of the country. They want His Majesty to get down from his place, and how Sameera and a family, because the entire family is from Pakistan. So as an immigrant they have been targeted, and how they are targeted, and Sameera's family, they also work with the police department, so they are the main target. So that horrific experience is being told. The next part. Benyamin calls his novel as a metaphor for the world today, which is full of fanatics. When you read it, you know that. And the translator is Shahnaz Habib. Shahnaz Habib, no wonder this work have got the JCB prize for translation. Such a wonderful translation. And this is a debut translated work for the particular translator. When you look at the overall plot, there is a crime happening, and there is a punishment for it, and whether you're going to punish it or whether you're going to forgive. So with the main character Sameera Parvin, the author have beautifully explained the relationship between these three aspects, that is the crime, the punishment, and the ability to forgive. These three things are beautifully related. This is not only a book about the communal violence, the religious conflict. It talks about the revolution which happens in the cities, second-class people, and there is the Shias and the Sunnis in Islam, and the clash between these two people is these two sects is highlighted here, and everything is in detail. The writing is very simple. At the same time, it shows a clear image of what is happening in the particular plot. Somewhere I have come across the word called as Flaubetian realism. Probably would have taken the name from Gustave Flaubert. Flaubetian realism, which is when you read a particular thing, you do not know whether it is a work of fiction or is it a real. In fact, when I was reading Lolita, the popular work by Vladimir Nabokov, the first there is a writer's note, or kind of a prologue. I thought that is written by the author himself. Later I came to know that is also part of the fiction, Like that, when you read this, when you look at the interview given by the author, when you go back to how this book has come out, from where, what's the origin of all these things, many things you do not know whether it's a fiction or it's a real story. And in Malayalam it is titled as Mullappu Niramulla Pagalugal, which was translated into Jasmine Days, and it talks about the Arab Spring Revolution. And here certain things stays with you. For example, the Sameera Parvin's passion for music, the first guitar gifted by his father, the relationship between the father and the daughter, and our travel with the friends, to a spot where they all practice music, Spring Revolution, the conflict between the Shias and the Sunnis, and the relationship between the democracy and the dictatorship from His Majesty, and the struggle of the women, that too, an immigrant who have come from Pakistan, and the predominant patriarchal society is beautifully narrated through our protagonist Sameera Parvin. This could have just continued with introducing Sameera, and later the revolution happens, and what happens, how many gets killed, and all the atrocities done by the protesters, the government, or the people who convert the government. But then there is a storyline which goes inside, where the protagonist's father is working with the police department, and the Sameera's friend, there is a character called Ali, and his part as a protester against the government, and her dilemma in choosing for the government or against the government. And being an immigrant, the locals, the protesters, they don't want them because the immigrants here have stolen their jobs. All our jobs you have taken, we do not have anything to eat. And that relation, that storyline just pierces the riot, pierces the protest, and keeps traveling inside, and you travel along with it. And the ending is also so good. It is a very hard ending, that is between punishment, between the crime what we commit, as I mentioned earlier, between the punishment and the tendency to forget. So I would call this as a brilliant novel and an intense work. So today's book is Jasmine Days by Benyamin, and beautifully translated by Shahnaz Habib. In fact, last week in news, I read an immigrant from the Taliban who is in Greece have asked the people not to come there to the camp, because the state is so bad. And so in this time, I feel this book is more connecting. So I would call it as a brilliant book and intense book. And before I finish, would like to quote two things from this book. That is from the words of Sameera Parvin. That is, she says in one particular place that the Islam I learned is the Islam of goodness and patience. I don't know how Islam becomes a religion of hatred and anger. And there is one more. Which again is from Sameera, when she says in a particular place that some silences are more meaningful than thousands of long sentences. Some silences are more meaningful than thousands and thousands of long sentences. So with this, I close today. So today's book is Benyamin's Jasmine Days, translated by Shahnaz Habib. So a brilliant and an intense read. Thank you. Happy reading.